What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Hollywood Already Did It, your movie podcast for reboots, remakes, sequels, and adaptations. As always, I am your host, Blake Schultz, and with me is Terrence Tatum.
Hello, everyone.
And this week we are talking about the new How to Train Your Dragon movie, the live action, I believe, scene for scene remake of the original How to Train Your Dragon.
Yes.
Yep. This is going to be such a fun episode because I have so many like just dumb questions that are easy to answer, but I'm still kind of like, but why? Because I think this movie is the epitome of like, but why? It's a huge property. I love all three of those movies. I think they're all great. Um, but it's so strange to instead of be like, here's four, which I think we're also getting, or a spinoff or anything else, to take the same actors and just do it. And yet
Yeah.
I walked away enjoying this movie, which like, of course I did. I enjoyed the first one.
Right.
So like, were we tricked? Is this a trick? Like, is
This is
that,
I feel like this is a brain exercise, to
yeah,
be
like
to be honest.
I feel like a big dumb idiot. I feel like I bought something and then years later was sold the same thing.
So
And
a
they were like,
remastering, if you will.
yeah, this is like Sony constantly being like, "Hey, we released The Last of Us. Now we released The Last of Us remastered. Now it's remastered again.
Again.
Now it's remastered again with the second one remastered." And at a certain point, I just have to say, "But I own this game
But I have
already.
this already.
But I have it." And they're like, "Not as shiny as this."
Doesn't look like this one.
And I'm like, "Well, you got me there, Sony." Yeah, it's. What did you think? Tell me about How to Train Your Dragon.
These are difficult movies for me. Because unlike some of the Disney films that have been redone, they were older in animation. They were older, and so some of them were like, "Oh yeah, I could see why you would want to throw a new coat of paint on that." Because there's a great deal of an audience that's probably like, "Nah, that's too old for me to get into." It's like how I look at black and white. Some people may look at that old school 2D animation like, "Nope, that's not good." Or something like Jungle Book, where it's a half of a story and they fleshed it out to make a new movie. This came out in 2010, and while that is still 15 years ago, it still looks good. It looks better than like Toy Story 3 and this came out the same year, and you could still put them on today and be like, oh no, that's still good animation. Like there's nothing that's wrong with what I'm seeing.
God, that's wild to think about this into
Yes.
because like it. It's so weird because it just wasn't even on my radar when it came out. Like when you said Toy Story 3, I was like,
But that's the
oh,
big one that everybody was like, that's what you
yeah,
pay attention
that
to. And this is little things happening
crazy.
over on the side. But I wound up seeing both in the theater, and I love them both. And I still, mm, the big thing that I have with this film, and the issue that I think it had a huge sort of hurdle to cover for me is that I adore this franchise, and I adore that first film. And so watching all of these over again, I was sitting like, yeah, all these beats, all these things you're hitting all the buttons correctly. Obviously you are. It's the same writer and director of that one who's here. He's just literally like putting a new coat of paint and getting new actors to do it. It's literally a one for one. Side note, random thing, that this director and writer also wrote and directed the original Lilo and Stitch. I don't know if he had anything to do with the live action, if he gets a code, but that's just a weird time for both live actions to exist in the same year. His brain had got to be like, I did
I
all right.
wonder if he was
I did all
bored
right.
making this movie. Like, I'm sure he wasn't, but do you think he ever got up one day and was like, no, yeah, guys, we all know
We
what
know
we're
what's going to
doing?
happen. We've done this, guys.
Or like an
I've drawn
actor,
this.
like, I would love like a Tropic Thunder type situation where he's just like yelling at the, we've made the movie.
Like,
You know
guys,
these lines.
especially
Did he
Gerard
have to,
Butler, because he's like, you've been here. Everything you're saying, you've said it once before.
did he have to bring in a new script, or do you think he was just like, oh, here it is, guys? I added live action next to the title.
Yeah, I don't know. And like again, to your point, because this movie means so much to me and I love it so much, I did have a good time. But there was something that when it was all said and done, I was like, well, why did we do this? Because nothing is new. Now, granted, if you're watching this for the first time, or if you're an audience person who um couldn't get into that animation for whatever reason, you just don't think it looks good, and now in 2025 you want to watch a live action version, this hits all in the like this is the first time you're seeing it, knocks it out of the park. You're gonna be like, oh my God, I'm amazed. For a person like us who've seen this multiple times, it's kind of like, Yeah, yeah, you did it. Congrats. You made it look prettier. But I would even argue that there are some moments where that's not even the case. And it's a weird thing. I'll use this example because this is the one part when I was like, this is why I still rather watch the animated version. The sequence where Hiccup, Toothless, and Astrid go on their flight. Um, it looks a lot better for me, and I feel a lot more warmth and imagination in the animated film because there's more colors, there's more things that you can do. Where when you get super photorealistic, it's like browns, greens, and blues, and then that's it. And it doesn't have as much like oomph as it did when I was like, oh my God, this is spectacular.
It's very live action X-Men the first time.
Hmm.
It feels like the life was drained out. Like I like the first. I like all, well, not all of them. There's some bad X Men movies, but I like those first two a lot.
Yeah.
But it was a very weird thing to go from being like a '90s animated fan and a comic book fan to see this very like muted team.
Yeah.
And I think we still see that less so now, but with a lot of like Jack Kirby comics that get translated to movies, it feels like you've drained something from it. And I think we
Hmm.
see it a lot. We've talked about so many live action Disney remakes. And I feel like the thing we always come back to is like, but the magic's not there. And I think something, because you're right. Like, I even remember watching that scene and being like, I remember feeling like I was watching Aladdin when I saw this in animation.
Correct.
I remember being like mesmerized by it and like feeling all these emotions that I'm just not really getting. And I can't tell if it's me. I can't tell if it's because I know it. I can't tell if it's
Right.
because I'm 35
I'm
now.
stuck in this weird thing. Like, is it because I know this too well that it doesn't hit, or is it because it's not visually as appealing as it was to me then? But something is just off a bit where I'm like, I'm not getting that same resonance that I got.
And it's funny because like Toothless looks great.
Amazing.
Um, all the other dragons kind of have the Disney problem where they were like designed for that animation.
Hmm.
And now seeing them in live action, it doesn't feel like, and I don't know that it should feel like a Game of Thrones or a Lord of the Rings, but I kept having this moment where I was like, I saw Lord of the Rings when I was like 12. So like kids can handle a little more intensity. And this feels really watered down. And I think it's because we're watching kids, we're watching dragons that are kind of like
Correct.
cutesy.
Because this is still technically for the teens, younger age groups, even though you from card just game but
Right.
because they did almost a one-to-one for the cartoon versions of those dragons to here, outside of Toothless, which has a very like recognizable face, the other four kind of just like, oh, cool.
And
They,
Toothus also has such an evergreen design. Like
yeah,
he's so like just sleek. Like he would work anywhere.
correct.
Um, yeah, it's the whole movie kind of feels like old YouTube days where people were making like my live action Mario movie and my live action Zelda. And then they would just have some like big toy that would be like the Koopa shell. And we are like, man, this is cool, but also like you're holding an action figure. Um, and I think that is what's so weird because it's still so like there were moments that were so the whole action scene
That
with the
last
giant
act,
hive mind was
oh my God, it is
awesome.
stunning. Yeah.
It's so dope. And when and like and you know what I want more of, I think, is the moment when she's stuck in like the jaws and you are like,
Hmm.
holy shit, this
Yeah.
is this is what you guys have been trying to do the whole time.
Hmm.
But we're just not really like it just doesn't quite work. Um and I think some of it too might just be in the directing difference of animation and live action. Because even when they're like dicks to Hiccup, I think I felt that more in animation because it's like
The,
quicker and they're
the,
so
and their
expressive.
faces are a lot more expressive. Like the actors are trying to do the expressiveness that was on the animation, but they just it's not something you can recreate because the animation you can sort of draw it to do whatever you want. It's hard to get an actor to sort of recreate that. And so yeah, there are a lot of moments in that where I'm like, these guys aren't big enough a-holes to him right now in this, and everything feels a little bit surface level because I've seen the animated version, and that was emoted and dramatic so well that when you get it here, they're doing their best. Nobody here is putting, I don't feel any of these actors are putting forth a bad acting job. It's just like it's
No,
hard
there.
because that animation was so good.
I feel like the only one who wasn't trying to recreate the animation was his dad. And I think he
Yeah.
stands out in the movie because of
Well, I
it.
mean,
He's
think
so good.
because Gerard is a talented actor. I also think he's an acclaimed actor. He's been doing this for a while, but he also has, unfortunately, he's the one who has the cheat code, and that he's been voicing this for a long time. So he's probably already got the emotions and facial tics that he's already had for Stoic before. They just weren't recorded in a live form. So it's easier for him to make that translation in that one-to-one because it's literally the same person doing it from
I
animated to
thought,
here.
isn't Hiccup also the same actor, or am I
No,
wrong?
no, because
No.
it was
Okay.
Jay Baruchel who did
That's right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and so they got a younger kid for this.
That
And
makes sense.
yeah. And like I think they're all doing great. I cannot stop looking at Nico and be like, that's Tandy Newton. It's a younger Tandy Newton, just a lighter, like a slightly skin tone lighter
Yeah.
version of Tandy Newton. But yeah, no, I think they all did great. It's just it's hard because the animation I know it's 15 years ago. That movie still looks
It's
fantastic.
so good. I mean, so does Toy Story 3. So does
Yeah,
a lot of animation from that time.
yeah,
Um, nothing really looks like Toy Story 1
right,
anymore once you get
correct.
to a certain point.
Yeah,
It is also interesting the beats like with the Disney movies, we it's so funny contradicting myself. And I guess I'm not because some of the Disney stuff worked for me and I get why we made changes. But it's such an interesting experiment to now look at all of these Disney movies like Aladdin or Mulan's maybe not as good, but The Jungle Book might be the best example that really were like, well, we need a new take to
hmm
make this work in live action. It needs to be different.
hmm
Um, and then for this one, for them to be like, no, it doesn't.
one to
And
one.
it's very
Yeah.
interesting that neither one really works.
I was gonna say
Like,
I've been racking my brain for the last 24 hours to see which one I like better, and the answer is neither. Like I
is
don't have an answer. Like some like I love Jungle Book because it did do its own thing, but at the same time, when Little Mermaid throws in extra songs, I'm like, that was please don't ever do that again. Stop.
I probably like this one more, but I think you also touched on something that is different with this movie. It's not a musical where all the Disney ones are.
Correct.
Um, and so when you and they also like this isn't that long of a movie, so I don't think they tried to like pad it. I feel like the
They
Disney ones have
yeah.
this like weird stress to become this like two
I
hour
yeah.
thing, and it's like just give me the 90-minute Lion King movie.
Yeah, and
It
like this movie is
worked.
2 hours and five, and I think the original was like an hour and a half. So the stuff that sort of gets padded are basically the action sequences because they just basically stretch them out to make a full length action piece as opposed to so you get 10 minutes of beginning action sequence and 10 minutes at the end, and you sort of just add the rest so that they blend together. But for most part, it's a one to one, and so there's not just like we're not just stuffing things in because we got to make ourselves a feature length film.
Yeah, like we're not doing the Aladdin thing where we add this whole other Prince character who's
Right.
gonna like get his spin-off that still hasn't happened. We're not really doing the Lion King thing where we add all this other stuff and information
Yeah.
and make it hyper realistic. Like,
Yeah.
because that it would have been weird. I kept in the movie being like, man, I kind of want like a dragon where I'm like, ooh, wow, that looks like a dragon. And then I was like, no, I don't.
Yeah.
I no, I
Like
don't.
you
That's
want House of Dragons. Wink.
right.
Nah,
Like,
I
no,
don't want that in this because this is a
I,
hyper realist. It's a fantasy world, and so I kind
yeah.
of want that to stay, keep that piece of it going.
I also think they're lucky that like I don't know, Nordic stuff just always kind of looks dope. Like
Yeah,
Viking stuff is always just like, how can you film that and make it look bad? How can you go to that location and not be like,
and not make it look.
wow?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
like there were just moments where I was like, I didn't see it in IMAX, but every now and then I was like, ooh, I kind of wish I saw this in IMAX. Like this is so
I I
cool.
did. It's a pretty well shot because I mean I think he shot. I think it specifically says some of it was shot in IMAX. Like it looks great. But I think the all the training sequences that he has by himself with it, oh, they're fun. They are good. I was like, oh, this is a good time, and it sort of did every now and then tug at my heartstrings a little bit and remind me of how I felt when I first watched that very first time. And I do hope that this movie and box office we'll talk about in a second. I do hope that this movie does speak to people who had not seen it, the original, in the way that that one spoke to me. Maybe this can sort of be that for them. They've already sort of locked in that they're going to do a second one. It doesn't. Why
Why
not?
wouldn't you?
We already we had the blueprint. Just go copy this one.
Yeah, it's I do hope that this doesn't like set a
A
weird precedent
precedent to just be like, let's just
where they're just like, I
copy
don't know,
and
man.
repeat.
Ice Age shot for
There's
shot.
four of them. Let's do that. Like
Cloudy
Kung
with a
Fu
Chance of
Panda's out
Meatballs.
here. Let's go make a
Live
new
action. Yeah,
right.
like
Gonna put a live
Mitch
panda up there and see what happens.
Mitchell's versus the Machines. Just get some actors up there. Like it feels like we talk
Yeah.
so often about originality and originality in these movies, and we try so hard to be like, well, why are we telling this story again? And this might be the first time where I'm just straight up like, the money.
The money.
There's
That's
not
it.
there's not a single reason to have
There's
done
nothing else
this
that I can say that
other
DreamWorks looked over at that Disney bank and was like, if they keep doing this and they keep making money, you know what? I want to make some money too.
yeah, it is probably like it's I hate saying this. It's probably the best business decision they've made to just be like, don't spend a lot of money, go get one of our properties, don't fuck with it at all, and let's
Right.
go make some
We don't
cash.
we let's pay like the same guy who wrote it and
Like
directed before. Just bring him back and have him do
it
it. It
it feels like if there was a producers 2, this would be the plot. Like the first
yeah.
producers is like, you're telling me we can make a flop that still makes money? The second one would be like, you're telling me we're seeing on all these animated movies and everybody has a camera in their
We
pocket?
can we
Well,
can do this
we
again.
should just be doing it again. We never need to make a new film ever. Like, um, which is why I'm annoyed that I liked it so much. Which is why I'm like mad at myself
I
because I
want to
walked
be
away and I was like,
angrier about this
I
movie.
know,
Yeah.
because whenever we do the Disney ones, I'm always like, grr, my childhood. Or sometimes I'm like, actually, I was kind of down with Aladdin. This was a good time. I liked the
Yeah.
Lion King one. I'm alone in that boat. And this one, I just walked out and was like, God, I should be so mad
I shouldn't
because
like
they
this as much
just
as
like this feels like I it feels like I had like a Chipotle burrito, and then someone was like, "Hey, we should go to like a real Mexican place," and then I found out that the real Mexican
just
place
does the
had Chipotle there, and it's like I'm not mad because I
right.
enjoyed the
'Cause I still like
Chipotle,
this.
but also fuck you, like, but fuck you, right? Like. And then it
Yeah.
had the audacity to make $83 million in North
It's making
America.
money hand over fist. 197 worldwide. You're like, well, now you can't even get mad at DreamWorks for being like, I got an idea, guys.
It,
Here's
an
what we're gonna
A
do.
cinema score and a 98%
Yeah.
audience score on Rotten Tomatoes, which I feel like is basically the thesis of the show is like, hey, we don't know why we retold this story. Clearly, most people don't mind. Like we keep complaining about movie theater ticket prices and original movies and remakes and reboots. This is the most remakey remake I
Like,
think
yeah, you
I've
don't get
ever
more remake
not
than this.
not since Vince Vaughn's Psycho has there been
Yes.
a movie where I'm just like, "Oh, y'all
Oh,
just did it.
you just
You
did the
just did
same
it."
thing.
And it almost blows my mind that more people don't do this. Like there's a Superman movie coming out in like a month. And
But I'm
it
just
now
like,
that I've watched this, I'm like, "Well, why aren't we just
why don't you
making
just take the
Christopher
Christopher Reeve
Reeves?"
one? Like everybody loves that. Just do that again.
Why aren't we like just do like it's what I keep saying about like video games right now where I'm like it's so interesting that we're now getting to this place of video games where we are like remaking Silent Hill 2 and remaking Final Fantasy 7 and remastering The Last of Us and remaking and remaking and remaking. And I'm like, but this kind of makes sense because you go back and you play Red Dead Redemption 1 and it's like, well, this feels old and clunky and there's mechanics. So when they remake it, which I would play that, you'd be like, oh,
I
it
mean, in a
feels
heartbeat.
better and it's
Yeah.
smoother and it's all these nice things. And they don't, when you do a movie, it doesn't really have that. Like, there is no version of the Resident Evil remakes where you're like, well, these were tank controls and fixed cameras and now it's a
Right.
real game. Um, Except this is probably the closest thing to just being like, how do we not make anyone mad?
Yeah. I don't want
But
to add
how
anything. I don't want to change anything. Hell,
this
we're gonna everybody's gonna be cast the exact same way that they looked in the movie. We're doing nothing to buck the cart here.
this is the video game remaster. of a movie. And I just am like, are we just going to kick the door down now? Are people just going to be like, hey, we're sitting on the Bird script. Why
Yeah,
not?
why
Right?
not?
We
Let's
don't have to
just do this.
pay. Like, they're going to get mad at us for doing AI. So why don't we just repurpose old
I
material?
definitely feel like this is going to give a lot of studios the wrong idea. They're going to be looking down their catalog and be like, hmm, what other things do we have that we can just go do shot for shot that people
There,
loved and just bring it back to the new days?
I don't think there is a right lesson to learn here. I
I don't
don't.
think so either.
I don't
Yeah.
think there's a right lesson to learn. I
No.
think the lesson here is that the audience will show up again for a property they like, which we already knew.
Yeah.
If you don't change anything, you'll get a good review because it's the same thing.
It wasn't broken.
And
Right. It was great the
and
first
you'll
time.
yeah, and you'll make money.
Yeah.
So why even try to be creative when you do a remake or reboot now? Why even bother?
Yeah.
Like if you're making Batman, if you're hired to do Batman, why not just make Batman?
Yeah. Just take it back.
Like
And it's funny. Like I know that they've only done or signed on for part two. Hell, just give them the whole trilogy. Like here, just go knock yourself out. Knock
that's
yourself
I
out for
would
2 years.
be
Let's
I
do this.
it's so cute that they're pretending they might only do
Right.
two.
Yeah.
That's
Just
adorable.
do it all. Knock it all out.
Um I wonder if this was a because I know four is in development, I think.
Yeah. It's been for a while.
For
I
so
don't know if this took
is this
its
the
place.
I was gonna say, is this the like three was a few years ago too? Is this the toe dip of just like instead of investing
Do you still like
two
this
hundred fifty
franchise?
million
Yeah.
dollars into part four? Are we just gonna go make? I don't know what the budget on this was. It's probably
150.
more. Oh
150.
yeah, okay.
Yeah. Because
Like
they don't have to pay
why?
script. They don't have to pay script writers.
Right. I just it's amazing that the same director did it. Like it's
Yeah.
so. I'm sure there's
Like
plenty of interviews with
I
him I haven't seen, but I just want someone to be like, you had to be bored, right?
I've
You
never
had to be
seen
bored.
someone attached to one thing. Like he did Lilo, and then he's just been dragging it out, dragging for like the last 2 decades, which is mind blowing to
I
me.
mean, we talked about Psycho, but I think Alfred Hitchcock is also the only director to remake his own movie,
Yeah,
which wasn't
yeah.
Psycho. Yeah.
We didn't really look at that. I didn't really dive into that, but yeah, that's a truth. Because like even with Lilo and Stitch, at least it's a different person who's took over that. Like I don't.
Yeah.
This is
I
him literally redoing his entire thing over again, which is fascinating.
yeah, because Hitchcock remade The Man Who Knew Too Much in 1934 and then in 1956. Um so it's not unprecedented. I mean, one of the greatest of all time did it.
Yeah.
How to Train Your Dragon director, same camp as Alfred Hitchcock. We're saying it now. Um, yeah, it's such an interesting exercise. It is a good weekend for it for Father's Day, I guess. Like, if in
Yeah.
the last 15 years you have nostalgia for this movie and you've had a kid, that doesn't seem crazy.
No,
Um,
it doesn't. It is, however, a wild time to sort of have two remakes from old school films, both something that this director originally created at number
back
one
to
and number two.
back,
Yeah, that is nuts to me.
back to back.
Yeah.
What a fascinating summer it's been so far.
Yeah.
It has been because it's like I was talking about this with my roommate the other day. We were talking about how, Thunderbolts and Mission Impossible have not made enough money to be profitable for their studios,
hmm
which is stupid because they've
Because
made the
both
most
are
money out
and
of
both have been
anything.
pretty well received
Yeah.
by basically everyone who's seen them.
Yep. So like so far this summer, like Lilo and Stitch is the only thing that's like made money.
Yeah.
I think Sinners also has made money.
Correct. Correct.
And it's so interesting to me because I feel like everything I see on TikTok or YouTube or in industry trades is nobody wants to go to the theater. Everything's dying. Everything is on fire. Oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no. And some of that's true. The industry is on fire. There are no production jobs anywhere. Nothing's getting greenlit. These are
Correct.
real things. But then we look at these movies and they're like, movies aren't making money anymore and no one wants to go. And I'm like, well, what's 400 million divided by 15? That's a lot of
That's a
fucking
lot.
people
That's
who
a lot of
wanted to
people.
go to your movie.
Yeah.
Like, so clearly, interest isn't the problem. Cost is still the problem.
Hmm.
More people would probably go if it wasn't $20 to go watch the exact same movie
Something that I've already
again.
seen. Yeah, I think what is fascinating though is that the two movies that have made the most money, or we're going to put Dragon saying that as they continue on, they're going to be in that category, are both family films, which means that you are automatically typically coming in with at least three people coming to these films.
And the family film was the slowest to recover after
Hmm.
COVID. That was for, I mean, like we saw Lightyear not do well. We saw Elemental not do well
Hmm.
and then pick up steam later with a longer tail. We've kind of seen it over, with the exception of the Minions 2 or whatever it
Yeah, and
was.
Inside Out 2 did okay-ish. It compared to what it
Yeah.
should have done based on the original, it should have done better, but it still did fine.
So that's, I mean, whenever you want to say the end of COVID was 2022, 2023, it took us about 2.5 years for families to come back,
Hmm.
is sort of what we're seeing, which is very interesting because, I mean, family movies and horror movies, I feel like are what end up being the
Typically the
base.
base of the box office. That's where you get sort of your meat and potato. And truthfully, that's what doing it this year. Sinners and Stitch and Dragon.
Yeah, here we are. Like
Yeah.
and it's in because now we're almost in July, so we're gonna have the heavy hitters
We got the
soon with
big three
Fantastic
coming
Four,
and
Superman,
Jurassic. Those
and
three
Jurassic.
are the big three. Yeah.
And I think all three of them are tracking well. They all look
Hmm.
good. Um, they're marketing the hell out of all of them.
All of them I can't get
Um,
away from. And movies that like it was in front of this. And I was like, why is Jurassic Park in front of Drac? Okay, sure. We'll do it.
I same. And you know what I liked though? As somebody who doesn't have a child and went to How to Train Your Dragon in the afternoon today, um, the
Same.
the kid next to me,
I
you
have a
do
child.
have a child
I just didn't
though.
take, I didn't, he's 4, so I didn't take him to this one because he's like, no, these dragons look scary, Dad. I'm like, fair enough. I'll see.
uh,
By the time we get 3 repeated, I'll bring you to that one.
the kid next to me and a few other kids audibly when the Superman trailer started were like Superman. One of them was loud enough that I like stumbled my popcorn. It was like, oh my god, that small human next to me made noises. Um, and they did the same thing when Jurassic World Park, whatever the
Jurassic
Jurassic movie
World,
came on.
Rebirth, Remodel, whatever the hell they
Sure,
call it. Yeah, we're in
you'd
it
think I
again.
would. I'm excited for the movie and I'm gonna go and I'm just like, yeah, the dinosaur one.
I completely forgot they were still calling it Jurassic World until I looked at the Coke can the other day. I'm like, oh, they are. They're sticking with the world title. Cool, I guess so.
Why not? What are we gonna do now? Go back?
The
We keep
park,
saying don't go back to that park.
that's true.
Uh, but they also were like Jurassic World, and I was like, I like how excited these kids are for movies.
It's going to be interesting though, because those big three, the lesson to be learned there is also a problem in that they are all previously installed bases. And so you
Yes, but at least they're not
IPs.
the exact same script.
Fair enough.
Although now that I've said that, I am like, I wouldn't mind watching like the
If you did
Superman
Christopher
movie
Reeves,
updated.
yeah, I'd watch that. Yeah,
Like, and this is the problem.
Donner's estate they would lose
Lose
their
it. Lose
mind.
it. And I think this is the weird problem is we're going to set this precedent and a small part of my brain is going to be like, I don't know, man, make Dr. No with Daniel Craig again. Why not? Like
Yeah,
that might be awesome. I don't know. Like that Halloween remake didn't work out. What if you just did
why don't you just do
Halloween
the first one
again?
again? Yeah, just update that one.
God, I hope that doesn't happen. I hope this nightmare world that I'm pitching where they're just like, make it again.
It's so
Should we
weird
have a
because
new take? No.
I hate it and don't hate it at the same time. I am so torn.
I hate it more than I like it.
Same.
I know that there are some
I think
that
it's
would
this
be,
property that I enjoy that I'm like, okay, you can get away
yeah,
with this one.
yeah. No, I think there's maybe 5 or 6, but like, I don't know, Fight Club, I'd be like, you don't need to do that.
No.
Um, yeah, most Independence Day, we don't need to do that. I just don't think this hypothetical situation I've made where studios are so out of ideas
I
that
got
even instead
nothing.
of rebooting it, they're just like, I don't know, man. Everyone liked that
Shoot that
67
again.
Corvette, paint it red. I
Yeah.
mean, like, then musicians do it. Could you imagine if like Lil
I
Wayne was like,
mean,
I'm just making the Carter
that
again?
is truly what Taylor Swift did. Like she's re-releasing her stuff.
That's true, but
For
that
her, it
was
was for her to
for
get her.
her.
She was
Yeah,
trying to get her
that's
her masters, but like that's literally what happened there.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that's a specific situation. It would be weird if somebody who already owned all their stuff did it.
Just for
If
shits and
if
giggles.
like Eminem was like, I don't know, man, I
I'm gonna
got the
do this
here's the
again.
Eminem show again. I
I'm gonna
went in the
just
booth.
my voice sounds a little
I
different. Let's do it again.
That would be so funny. I don't know, guys. That was 20 years ago. Want to hear how it sounds today? That's like if Eminem was on TikTok. He'd be like, here's what Lose Yourself would sound like in
I
2025.
don't want that. I don't.
Just the worst thing that I can think of.
Yeah. Oh boy. What bizarro world are we in right now?
It's going to be fine. I don't think we're going to have it in the supply of repaints. That's what they should call them, repaints.
Yeah.
We should have remakes, reboots, and repaints. Those are the three.
At the very least, we can say the DreamWorks won't get in the live or shouldn't get in the live action business because their other two animated franchises would
You,
a Shrek or a Panda or Kung Fu Panda live action would just be weird.
but I would watch a Shrek one.
Oh no.
But I would though. You said that, and I was like, you're right. But also, what if Mike Myers was just a
Just
green
going for a
Shrek
green
man?
oh, like put him in makeup?
And yeah, like
Like he
what
was in
if?
Cat in the Hat? Yeah, that
Yeah,
you know what?
yes.
You're bringing me around to it. Damn it.
You hear that
No.
all-star song come on, and a real ogre kicks the door down, and then nothing else changes.
I like it.
I
Sold.
mean, I think
Sold.
we've got a picture.
We
If they do it, that'll be the first one.
Oh,
That if they keep this going, they're just going to be like, Shrek?
Shrek. Shrek's
Yes.
next. Let's crank them out.
Because what would you need outside of Shrek and Donkey? Everything else would be a human, right?
That's what I was trying to rack my brain. I'm like, I think they would be the only ones that are animated. You could do a gingerbread man would be animated, but like those two
I
would be the because you have
Yeah.
the king would be John Lithgow. You could if he's still alive, go get him again.
I mean, part of the fun of Lord Farquaad is that he's short, and I don't know that
Right.
would play as
That's
well in
true.
live
He's tall.
action.
That's true.
That might be a
Yeah.
and we don't want to Snow White it. Like I think you
Yeah.
got
It's
to
like you'd actually have to get a little person to do that.
get Peter Dinklage to do it.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Like,
Writes
see, I
itself,
say all
folks.
this, and I'm like, hear me out. Stay with me.
Yeah.
Princess Fiona, we get Sydney Sweeney. I think we got a
I think
movie.
we're there. We got a picture. Let's make it.
Change nothing. I want the song about the prayer, the God heard a secret
Oh,
chord or
yes.
whatever that I can't think of the name of right now. Hallelujah. Hallelujah
Yeah.
plays. Ooh, I
Yeah.
love that first Shrek movie. How hard is it to be a studio head? You just got to think of nonsense like this all day. All right, folks, that's our show. Leave us a review and a comment on our YouTube channel where Terrence also does the trailer reactions and television show reviews. And you can follow us on TikTok and Twitter at HollywoodADI. And I'm at As Always Blake, and Terrence is at Terrence Tatum. And we will see you next time.
Later.